The golden numbers shine. The years have passed, life's mellowed to the acme of its time.
The golden lights were shining bright, and time had softened everything around them. Buddy Hackett became one of the wildest comedy stars of his era, known for his fast-talking, hilarious facial expressions, and fearless stand-up routines that kept audiences crying with laughter. He showed up on The Tonight Show, starring Johnny Carson more than 90 times, turning every appearance into must-see television. On screen, Buddy and Johnny Carson looked completely locked in, like two close friends throwing jokes back and forth without missing a beat. The chemistry felt natural, smooth, and effortless. But behind the cameras, the story was way more complicated than people realized. While fans believed the two comedy legends were tight, rumors quietly floated around for years about tension hiding beneath all the smiles. Before Buddy Hackett passed away, he finally opened up and shared what many people had secretly suspected about the king of late-night television. What exactly did Buddy reveal about the man behind the famous desk and curtain? The truth caught a lot of people off guard. This is the hidden story of Buddy Hackett and Johnny Carson, a relationship far different from what viewers saw on TV. Long before the fame, Buddy Hackett was simply Leonard Hacker, a kid growing up in Brooklyn's Borough Park neighborhood inside a hard-working Jewish family. His mother worked in the garment business while his father repaired furniture and spent time experimenting with inventions on the side. Money was not always easy, but the family kept pushing forward no matter what. Then life hit Leonard with a tough challenge early on. He developed Bell's palsy, a condition that left part of his face drooping and affected the way he spoke. For many people, something like that could destroy confidence completely. But Leonard flipped the situation around and turned those very features into part of what made him unforgettable on stage. At New Utrecht High School, he balanced football and drama club at the same time, already showing signs that he knew how to grab attention anytime he walked into a room. He had energy people could not ignore. During summers, he headed to the famous Borscht Belt resorts in the Catskill Mountains, working as a tumbler, a high-energy entertainer hired to keep crowds laughing and excited non-stop. That was where Leonard officially started performing in nightclubs under the name Butch Hacker. But his first big performance at the Golden Hotel was rough, seriously rough. Buddy later joked that he did not get a single laugh from the audience. Most people would have walked away embarrassed after a disaster like that, but not him. The failure only made him tougher and more determined to win people over. After graduating high school in 1942, his life suddenly changed direction when he joined the United States Army during World War II. For 3 years, he served in an anti-aircraft battery, leaving behind comedy clubs for military life and intense pressure overseas. The fast-talking Brooklyn kid with the unforgettable face was building grit long before Hollywood ever called his name. Nobody could have predicted that this young man from Brooklyn would eventually become one of the biggest comedy personalities in America, standing beside the most powerful names in entertainment while hiding stories the public never expected to hear. The night Leonard Hacker officially became Buddy Hackett changed everything. After returning home from World War II, he was ready to leave the past behind and chase something bigger. He picked up work at a Brooklyn nightclub called the Pink Elephant, and under those smoky lights and packed crowds, Leonard dropped his old name for good. From that moment on, Buddy Hackett was born. That new identity gave him a whole different level of confidence and momentum. Suddenly, Buddy was landing gigs far beyond Brooklyn, performing in Los Angeles, Las Vegas, and back in the famous Catskill resort circuit where he first sharpened his comedy skills. His fast-talking style and unpredictable energy started getting serious attention everywhere he went. Buddy's rise did not stop with nightclubs either. He made his way onto Broadway in a play called Lunatics and Lovers, and the performance grabbed the attention of powerful television producer Max Liebman. Liebman immediately spotted something special in Buddy and booked him for 2 major TV specials, giving him a huge push into national fame. As television audiences started connecting with Buddy's unique personality, Hollywood began circling fast. In 1950, he landed his very first movie role in a short Columbia Pictures film called King of the Pins. The setup was simple but hilarious. A real professional bowler demonstrated the correct way to bowl, while Buddy silently acted out every possible wrong way to do it. His physical comedy stole the show completely. People inside Columbia Pictures reportedly could not stop talking about Buddy after seeing the film. According to longtime stories from Hollywood, Jules White, the head of Columbia's comedy department, became so impressed that he approached Buddy in 1952 with a shocking offer to join the Three Stooges. At the time, the legendary comedy group was going through major changes. Curly Howard had suffered a devastating stroke years earlier, and his brother Shemp stepped in to help keep the act alive. After Curly sadly passed away in January 1952, the group faced an uncertain future and needed someone new to fill the empty spot. Buddy allegedly met with Mo Howard and Larry Fine for a rehearsal session to test whether the chemistry worked between them. Just imagine that moment for a second. One of the hottest rising comedians in America sitting face to face with comedy royalty, trying to see if he could become the next Stooge. But Buddy made a bold decision. Even with such a massive opportunity sitting right in front of him, he turned it down because he felt his comedy style did not match the group's slapstick approach. Instead of joining an already famous act, he chose to gamble on himself and build his own name from the ground up. Over the years, some Hollywood insiders questioned whether the meeting truly happened at all. But Buddy later went on Johnny Carson's show and looked him straight in the eye while confirming the story was absolutely true. Even after walking away from the Three Stooges, Buddy's career kept heating up. He stepped away from movies for a short time and focused heavily on nightclub performances, sharpening every part of his act. By 1953, he returned to the big screen after one of his live routines exploded in popularity. During the bit, Buddy used exaggerated physical comedy while playing a stressed restaurant waiter dealing with non-stop confusion and communication mix-ups inside a crowded restaurant scene. The audience reaction was huge, and his reputation as a fearless entertainer only grew louder from there. The routine became an absolute sensation with live audiences. Crowds could not get enough of Buddy Hackett's chaotic energy and expressive comedy style. The act exploded in popularity so fast that Buddy eventually recorded it as a comedy album and later brought the routine to the big screen in the musical film Walking My Baby Back Home. His performance made such a strong impression that his name appeared right below major stars Donald O'Connor and Janet Leigh on the movie poster. That was a huge moment for a comedian who had fought his way up from tiny nightclub stages. Then came an unexpected Hollywood emergency that changed everything again. The legendary comedy duo Abbott and Costello were preparing to film Fireman Save My Child, and several scenes had already been shot using stunt doubles. But suddenly, Lou Costello became seriously ill and could no longer continue filming. The studio scrambled to save the production, and all eyes landed on Buddy Hackett. Because Buddy had a similar physical build and comedic timing, the studio hired him alongside actor Hugh O'Brian to step into the leading roles and help rescue the movie. Imagine the pressure. Replacing one half of one of the most famous comedy duos in entertainment history was no small challenge, but Buddy handled it with confidence and sharp comedic instincts. By the late 1950s and into the 1960s, Buddy's face was everywhere on American television. He became a true household name thanks to non-stop appearances on some of the biggest variety and talk shows of the era. Television legends like Jack Paar and Arthur Godfrey regularly brought him on because audiences loved his unpredictable style and fearless sense of humor. Buddy stood out because he never felt overly polished or scripted. He spoke fast, made outrageous facial expressions, and delivered bold punchlines with a natural energy that felt completely different from many other performers at the time. Viewers never knew what he might say next, and that unpredictability made him impossible to ignore. He became especially popular on Jack Paar's version of The Tonight Show. His appearances pulled in huge reactions from viewers, and Paar respected him enough to invite Buddy onto his historic final broadcast in 1962. That invitation alone showed how valuable Buddy had become in the world of late-night television. As the years rolled on, networks kept calling him back again and again. Buddy appeared as a celebrity panelist on the hit game show What's My Line, and even hosted the game show Treasure Hunt. Producers trusted him because he could instantly bring energy into any room the second the cameras started rolling. He also became a regular on The Perry Como Show, appearing 15 different times across 6 years. Behind the scenes, Buddy's life was just as interesting. During this period, he shared an apartment with controversial comedian Lenny Bruce, another comic known for pushing boundaries and challenging audiences. The two comedians even teamed up for a comedy sketch on The Patrice Munsell Show, where they jokingly referred to themselves as the not ready for primetime players. In a strange Hollywood twist, that exact phrase would later become famous nearly 20 years later through the original cast of Saturday Night Live. But Buddy did not want people thinking he could only tell jokes in nightclubs or on talk shows. He wanted to prove he had range as a performer. That drive pushed him into all kinds of acting roles, from westerns to Broadway productions, showing Hollywood there was much more to him than fast punchlines and funny faces. Eventually, Buddy's growing popularity earned him his own television sitcom in 1956 called Stanley. The series aired live from New York City every Monday night in front of a studio audience, placing Buddy right at the center of America's booming television era. Buddy Hackett stepped into television comedy with his sitcom Stanley, playing a kind-hearted guy running a busy newsstand inside a fancy New York City hotel. The series did not stay on the air for very long, but it had some surprising future stars attached to it. A young Carol Burnett appeared on the show before becoming a television icon herself, and viewers also heard the unmistakable voice of comedy legend Paul Lynde. Even after the sitcom ended, Buddy refused to slow down. He kept proving he could handle far more than stand-up comedy by jumping into dramatic television roles in Broadway productions. He appeared in Western series like The Rifleman and later returned to the stage in the 1964 musical I Had a Ball. Buddy was constantly reinventing himself and keeping audiences guessing about what he would do next. By the 1970s, Buddy had become a full-blown entertainment veteran with decades of experience and stories nobody else could match. But instead of sticking only to comedy, he surprised fans by revealing a much more thoughtful side. He released a serious poetry collection called The Naked Mind of Buddy Hackett, showing people there was more going on beneath the fast jokes and wild expressions than they expected. At the same time, he continued dominating late-night television. Buddy remained one of Johnny Carson's favorite guests for years, constantly making Carson burst into laughter during interviews and comedy bits. Their chemistry looked effortless on camera, and audiences loved every second of it. Buddy kept appearing on Carson's show all the way until Johnny retired in 1992. He also got the chance to pay tribute to one of his comedy heroes by portraying Lou Costello in the television movie Bud and Lou. For Buddy, that role carried extra meaning because of his earlier connection to the Abbott and Costello world years before. Fans loved seeing him step into the shoes of one of the comedians he admired growing up. Buddy's unforgettable raspy voice also became a major part of his success. After making a quick appearance in the 1963 comedy classic It's a Mad, 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 Mad World, his mainstream movie career slowed down for a while. But then came a twist nobody really saw coming. Even though Buddy was famous for edgy nightclub material aimed at adults, some of his biggest movie success came through family entertainment and children's films. Young audiences adored him in Disney movies like The Love Bug and The Wonderful World of the Brothers Grimm. His larger-than-life voice and exaggerated delivery worked perfectly for family audiences in animation. That unique voice eventually landed him one of his most iconic roles ever, Scuttle the Seagull in Disney's massive 1989 hit, The Little Mermaid. Kids everywhere instantly connected with the loud, goofy bird, and Buddy became part of one of Disney's biggest animated franchises. He loved the character so much that he returned to voice Scuttle again for the sequel released in 2000. But behind all the success, Buddy quietly faced a difficult personal struggle during the mid-1980s. He developed severe stage fright that affected him for years and forced him to step back from performing. For a man who built his life around making crowds laugh, that situation hit especially hard. Thankfully, Buddy eventually pushed through it and returned to television by the late 1990s with fresh energy. He appeared in the Hollywood satire sitcom Action in 1999 and even fooled audiences during a guest appearance on the comedy series Lateline. In the episode, a fake news report mistakenly announced Buddy's death, leading politicians to humorously sing his famous song She Poopy on air. In his later years, Buddy found the perfect place to share his legendary stories on The Late Late Show with Craig Kilborn. His weekly segment, Tuesdays with Buddy, gave him the chance to relax, joke around, and look back on more than 50 years in show business with an entirely new generation of fans. To recognize everything Buddy Hackett gave to the entertainment world, he received a star on the legendary Hollywood Walk of Fame. It was a huge honor for the fast-talking kid from Brooklyn who turned his unique personality into a career that lasted for decades. Buddy's name became permanently linked with comedy history, making sure his unforgettable voice and larger-than-life energy would never fade away. But away from television cameras and nightclub stages, Buddy's personal life had just as many fascinating twists. On the 12th of June 1955, he married Sherry Cohen, a talented dance teacher from Brooklyn who also performed under the stage name Sherry Dubois. The couple first met years earlier in the Catskills during Buddy's early entertainment days, and their connection quickly grew into a lifelong partnership. Together, Buddy and Sherry built a family and raised 3 children while living in beautiful Malibu, California. But then came a surprising move that caught many people off guard. In August 1958, the couple purchased a huge home in Fort Lee, New Jersey. The shocking part was the property's history. It had once belonged to notorious mob figure Albert Anastasia. The home already carried a mysterious reputation because of its past owner, but Buddy and Sherry completely renovated the place and transformed it into a fresh start for their family. Through much of the swinging 1960s, the former mob mansion became home base for one of comedy's biggest stars. Behind the scenes, Buddy also had hobbies that many fans never expected. He was extremely interested in firearms and built a large collection over the years. He eventually sold the collection later in life, but for a long time, he enjoyed spending hours practicing target shooting and sharpening his skills at pistol ranges. Friends even described him as an incredibly accurate shooter. Buddy also loved outdoor activities like golfing and skiing, always finding ways to stay active whenever he stepped away from show business. But despite his rough-edged comedy image and tough hobbies, people close to him often said he had an enormous heart and loved helping others. He devoted time and energy to several charitable causes, including fundraising for the Boys and Girls Clubs of America and supporting efforts connected to the National Tay-Sachs Foundation. As the years passed, Buddy and Sherry became especially passionate about helping animals, particularly abandoned and stray cats roaming around Los Angeles. Their love for animals grew into something much bigger than casual support. In 2003, the couple officially launched the Singita Animal Sanctuary in California's San Fernando Valley, creating a safe place focused on rescuing and caring for stray cats. It became one of the causes closest to their hearts. Buddy's legacy also continued strongly through his family. His son, Sandy Hackett, followed directly in his father's footsteps and entered the comedy business himself. For years, Sandy had the special honor of opening Buddy's live shows, performing in front of crowds before his father walked on stage to roaring applause. After Buddy's passing, Sandy worked hard to preserve his father's memory and personality for longtime fans and newer generations alike. He created a heartfelt one-man stage production centered around Buddy's life, stories, and comedy career, reminding audiences that behind the famous funny face was a generous, loyal, and deeply entertaining man who left a major mark on Hollywood history. While Buddy Hackett was deeply loved by friends and family in his personal life, the professional side of Hollywood was a completely different game. Behind the bright studio lights and non-stop applause, television relationships could be tense, competitive, and carefully controlled. And nowhere was that pressure bigger than on The Tonight Show starring Johnny Carson. Buddy made it look easy on camera. Every time he sat beside Johnny Carson, the two seemed completely relaxed together, firing off jokes and making audiences roar with laughter. Their chemistry felt natural, almost effortless. But according to Buddy, what viewers saw on television was only part of the story. Behind the scenes, Johnny Carson was known as one of the most guarded personalities in entertainment. Buddy later revealed that Carson was far more private and emotionally distant than people realized. The smooth, charming host audiences watched every night at 11:30 p.m. was carefully controlled, and very few people ever truly got close to the real Johnny Carson. Even after appearing on Carson's couch 78 different times, Buddy admitted that you never fully knew Johnny once the cameras stopped rolling. According to Buddy, Carson kept a wall around himself almost constantly. The laughter and easygoing personality often disappeared backstage, replaced by someone much quieter and harder to read. In Hollywood circles, Carson had a reputation for being extremely protective of his position as late-night television's top star. Several comedians quietly understood there were unwritten rules when appearing on his show. If a guest completely dominated the spotlight or pulled too much attention away from Carson himself, the atmosphere could suddenly turn cold fast. Buddy understood exactly how to survive in that environment. He knew how to be unpredictable enough to excite audiences and boost ratings without crossing the invisible line that could upset the host. That balancing act became one of Buddy's greatest skills in television. He could take over a room with wild stories and non-stop energy while still making Carson look like the center of the show. That strategy helped Buddy become one of the most frequent guests in Tonight Show history. His 78 credited appearances placed him among the top recurring guests the legendary program ever had, tied with famous entertainers Steve Lawrence and Eddie Gourmet. Night after night, producers knew Buddy could walk on stage and instantly create unforgettable television moments. What made Buddy so special on the show was his completely spontaneous style. Conversations could go anywhere once he started talking. He told long, chaotic stories packed with strange details, exaggerated reactions, and punchlines nobody saw coming. Sometimes even Carson struggled to keep himself together during Buddy's routines. One of the most famous moments came in 1987 during Buddy's legendary duck joke story. The bit became so ridiculously funny that Johnny Carson and announcer Ed McMahon reportedly laughed until tears streamed down their faces. The audience completely lost control, and the segment became one of those classic late-night moments fans replayed for years afterward. But beneath all the laughter sat a deeper truth Buddy eventually hinted at later in life. While he respected Carson's talent enormously, he also understood that the king of late night carefully guarded his throne. Friendship in Hollywood often came with limits, and Buddy realized long ago that surviving in Carson's world meant understanding the difference between being welcomed onto the couch and truly being part of Johnny Carson's inner circle. Throughout his many unforgettable appearances on The Tonight Show, Buddy Hackett knew exactly how to keep Johnny Carson laughing while still entertaining millions of viewers at home. One of Buddy's favorite running jokes was teasing Carson about his massive wealth and luxurious Malibu lifestyle. He would clown around about Johnny's electric gates, the security standing outside, and even strange gadgets around the property, turning Carson's rich celebrity image into comedy gold. Buddy also used those interviews to tell personal stories that felt honest, chaotic, and hilarious all at once. He shared memories about growing up in New York, stories about his father, and even opened up about difficult moments from his own life, including his divorce. Audiences loved these stories because Buddy made everything sound larger than life while still feeling relatable and real. At times, Buddy also used Carson's stage to defend and celebrate his own comedy history. During one memorable conversation, he brought up the famous story about being asked to join the Three Stooges after Curly Howard's passing in 1952. Looking directly at Carson, Buddy proudly confirmed that the offer was absolutely real, but explained he turned it down because he wanted to build his own solo career instead of becoming part of an existing act. It was one of those classic Hollywood stories that instantly grabbed attention. Before Buddy passed away in 2003, he never spoke about Johnny Carson with bitterness or open hostility. Instead, he seemed to view Carson with a kind of careful understanding. Buddy believed Carson gave nearly everything emotionally to his television audience, leaving very little of himself available for people in his private life. To Buddy, the contrast between Carson the performer and Carson the person was impossible to ignore. One man used loud stories, exaggerated expressions, and non-stop energy to pull people closer, while the other used charm, professionalism, and distance to keep much of the world at arm's length. They were both giants from comedy's golden era, but they handled fame in completely opposite ways. And Buddy was definitely not the only comedian who noticed it. Behind the scenes, many people in Hollywood quietly understood just how much power Johnny Carson held during his years ruling late-night television. Getting invited onto Carson's couch could completely change a comedian's career overnight, but falling out of favor with him could also slam doors shut just as quickly. Underneath the calm smile and polished television image, Carson reportedly had a reputation for being extremely private and capable of holding long grudges. If he felt betrayed or disrespected, people said he could cut someone out of his life almost instantly without looking back. One of the most talked about examples involved comedian Joan Rivers. For years, Joan had been one of Carson's closest professional allies on television. She regularly filled in as permanent guest host and became one of the most recognizable personalities connected to The Tonight Show. Their partnership looked rock solid in front of audiences. But everything reportedly changed in 1986 when Joan accepted an opportunity to host her own late-night program on the rival Fox network. The move shocked Hollywood and reportedly triggered one of the most famous fallouts in television history, exposing just how intense and personal Carson's loyalty rules could become behind the scenes. Johnny Carson reportedly took Joan Rivers' career move extremely personally. According to people close to the situation, Carson felt blindsided and deeply betrayed when Joan accepted her own late-night show on the rival Fox network in 1986. The fallout became legendary in Hollywood. Carson never spoke to Joan again and permanently banned her from appearing on The Tonight Show for the rest of his run. For many people in entertainment, it was a shocking reminder of just how serious Carson could become when loyalty was involved. And Joan Rivers was far from the only major star to experience Carson's colder side. During the 1970s and 1980s, viewers often assumed comedy legend Bob Hope was one of Johnny's closest favorites because he appeared on the show so frequently. But behind the scenes, the reality was reportedly much more complicated. Bob Hope would usually walk on stage, deliver a quick set of prepared jokes, promote his newest project, play a clip, and quickly leave. Audiences enjoyed it, but Carson apparently grew frustrated with the routine over time. Johnny preferred guests who sat down, relaxed, and created spontaneous conversations instead of sticking tightly to scripted material. According to longtime stories from Hollywood insiders, Carson secretly resented the fact that Hope could almost book himself onto the show whenever he had something to promote. Since Hope was one of the biggest stars in entertainment history, Carson reportedly felt pressure to go along with it, even when he disliked the format. That frustration quietly built up behind the scenes for years. Once the cameras shut off, many people described Carson as far more difficult and emotionally complicated than his calm television image suggested. His former attorney Henry Bushkin later described him as lonely, moody, and extremely sensitive to criticism. People around Carson often felt they had to carefully watch what they said because even small issues could reportedly trigger icy reactions or sudden anger. Stories circulated for years about Carson becoming upset over minor mistakes from staff members or withdrawing from people without warning. One of the most dramatic confrontations connected to Carson involved Las Vegas entertainer Wayne Newton. For years, Carson made jokes on television about Newton that reportedly crossed personal lines. Eventually, Newton became furious enough to confront him directly. According to the story, Newton walked into Carson's office in Burbank, stared him down face to face, and demanded the jokes stop immediately. The confrontation became one of Hollywood's most talked about behind-the-scenes moments. The jokes reportedly stopped after that meeting, but the tension between the two men lingered for years afterward. Newton later believed Carson's influence may have contributed to damaging rumors that connected the singer to organized crime figures, making the feud even more bitter. Carson's fierce loyalty to his staff also created conflicts with other entertainment legends. He once admired comedian Jerry Lewis, but after Lewis reportedly mistreated a Tonight Show cue card employee, Carson refused to allow him to guest host the show again. That decision sent a strong message throughout Hollywood about how seriously Carson protected the people working around him. Even Frank Sinatra reportedly faced limits from Carson at times. According to stories from people close to the show, Carson became frustrated with Sinatra's aggressive off-camera behavior and eventually restricted the legendary singer to only occasional appearances. By the end of his career, Johnny Carson had developed a reputation as two completely different people living side by side. On television, he appeared smooth, funny, and welcoming the relaxed host America invited into their homes every night. But behind the curtain, many described a man who could be distant, unpredictable, and incredibly hard to truly know, ruling late-night television with quiet control and an icy edge that few dared challenge. While some entertainment legends spent their later years isolated from the world around them, Buddy Hackett chose a completely different path. As he got older, he focused more on sharing everything he had learned during decades in comedy and show business. Instead of pulling away, Buddy embraced the role of mentor, teacher, and guide, especially for his son Sandy, who grew up watching one of comedy's biggest personalities up close every single day. But behind the laughter, Buddy's health had started becoming a serious concern. In the early 1990s, doctors diagnosed him with severe heart disease. Even after receiving the diagnosis, Buddy reportedly refused to undergo bypass surgery, staying stubborn and determined to handle things his own way. Sadly, his condition worsened over time. On the 30th of June 2003, Buddy Hackett passed away at the age of 78 at his beach house in Malibu, California. The loss hit the comedy world hard. Fans, fellow entertainers, and longtime friends all remembered him as one of the fastest and funniest storytellers to ever grab a microphone. Later, his son Sandy revealed that Buddy had also battled diabetes for years and suffered a stroke just 1 week before his passing. Those health struggles reportedly played a major role in the final chapter of his life. But even after Buddy was gone, the impact he left behind continued through the people closest to him, especially his family. Sandy Hackett often described his father as more than just a comedian. To him, Buddy was a non-stop student of comedy who constantly worked on improving his craft. Buddy spent countless hours reading, studying performers, shaping material, and refining his stage techniques. He approached comedy seriously and treated performing almost like an art form that always needed sharpening. Younger comedians respected him because he willingly shared advice and experience instead of guarding his knowledge. Around his son, Buddy naturally became a comedy mentor, teaching through actions as much as words. Sandy quickly realized what audiences had understood for years: when Buddy Hackett stepped onto a stage, almost anything could happen, and the crowd loved every second of it. That guidance became the foundation for Sandy's own entertainment career as a writer, producer, and performer. His first experience in television came incredibly early. At just 11 years old, Sandy accompanied his father to an appearance on the hit comedy show Rowan and Martin's Laugh-In. While backstage, producers noticed the young boy and unexpectedly decided to place him on camera. Just like that, Sandy made his official television debut. A simple visit with his father suddenly became the beginning of his own journey into show business. Years later, Sandy attended the University of Nevada, Las Vegas, where he studied hotel administration. During his final semesters, he even served as director of entertainment while balancing school responsibilities and his growing passion for live performance. But despite earning a business degree, the stage kept pulling him back. Sandy eventually launched and hosted the Sahara Showcase of Talent on Monday nights at the legendary Sahara Hotel and Casino in Las Vegas. The show quickly became a success and built a strong local following thanks to Sandy's confident hosting style and smooth delivery. After a successful 4-year run, the program became so popular that it was eventually renamed Sandy Hackett's Talent Showcase. Many people noticed similarities between Sandy's presentation style and Johnny Carson's calm, late-night approach, proving that Buddy's influence and lessons had carried directly into the next generation of entertainers. The success of Sandy Hackett's Talent Showcase did not slow down anytime soon. The show kept running for another full decade, drawing packed crowds and becoming one of the hottest live entertainment attractions around Nevada. As demand exploded, Sandy expanded the showcase beyond Las Vegas, bringing performances to major locations like the Sahara Reno, Sahara Tahoe, and the legendary Mint and Dunes hotels. During those years, Sandy introduced more than 10,000 different performers to live audiences, giving opportunities to countless rising entertainers before they became household names. Future stars like Andrew Dice Clay, Howie Mandel, and George Wallace all stepped onto stages connected to Sandy's showcase early in their careers. That is a serious comedy legacy right there. The unforgettable era finally came to an end only because many of those historic Las Vegas hotels were demolished to make room for the modern version of the city. Entire pieces of old-school Vegas history disappeared overnight, bringing the curtain down on a wild chapter of entertainment history. But Sandy never stopped performing. For the next 40 years, he traveled across the country working comedy clubs, refining his stage presence, and building his own loyal fan base one audience at a time. Then came one of the biggest moments of his life. Buddy Hackett showed up to watch Sandy perform live and was blown away by what he saw. After the show, Buddy invited his son to officially join him on stage and work beside him professionally. Sandy jumped at the opportunity without hesitation. Over the next decade, he traveled side by side with his father, learning directly from one of comedy's all-time greats while serving as Buddy's opening act, road manager, stage manager, and closest companion. By 1990, Sandy had built enough confidence and experience to launch his own comedy club in Laughlin, Nevada. The venue became a success throughout the decade and helped strengthen his growing reputation inside the entertainment industry. His networking skills also opened major doors behind the scenes. Sandy later became entertainment director for Sun City Summerlin, where he booked more than 400 live shows in only 2 years at the Starbright Theater. His ability to connect performers, audiences, and venues turned him into a respected figure far beyond stand-up comedy alone. Then another unexpected opportunity sparked a brand new idea. When HBO announced plans for a movie about the legendary Rat Pack, family friend Joey Bishop personally contacted Sandy and told him he would have been perfect to portray Joey on screen. Even though someone else eventually landed the role, the idea stayed stuck in Sandy's mind because of his close connection to Bishop growing up. That inspiration pushed Sandy to create something completely original. He sat down and wrote his own live production honoring Joey Bishop and the iconic Rat Pack era. Out of that idea came Sandy Hackett's Rat Pack show, Shadows in the Desert, which eventually became the biggest success of his career. Today, Sandy proudly serves as the show's writer, director, and star while co-producing the massive touring production alongside his wife, Lisa Dawn Miller Hackett. Lisa is an accomplished singer, songwriter, and producer herself, and she also comes from legendary music roots as the daughter of famous Motown songwriter Ron Miller. While Sandy continued carrying the family legacy in entertainment, Buddy's daughters, Ivy and Lisa, chose much quieter lives outside the spotlight. Meanwhile, Sandy and Lisa raised a new generation of talented performers within the family. Their son, Oliver Richmond, already built attention as a young singer and actor, and has even performed on stage with Stevie Wonder. Their daughter, Ashley Hackett, also followed the entertainment path, regularly performing comedy and acting alongside her father. The Hackett family's connection to show business continues growing through every new generation. Sadly, Buddy's beloved wife Sherry, who stood beside him for 48 years and helped support their animal rescue work, passed away in recent years. But the joy, humor, and larger-than-life energy that Buddy Hackett brought into entertainment never truly disappeared. Through Sandy, Lisa, the grandchildren, and the countless comedians inspired by Buddy's fearless style, the Hackett legacy still shines brightly today for audiences everywhere. Were you a fan of Buddy Hackett and his unforgettable comedy stories? Which moment surprised you the most? Drop your thoughts down in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this video, make sure to like, subscribe, and share it with someone who loves classic Hollywood stories and comedy legends. Also, check out the next video on your screen because there's another unbelievable story waiting for you there.